Miami Heat are the favorites to land Kevin Durant in a trade this offseason. I am Nic Rohloff. We're going to talk about everything that was updated over the weekend and this Monday morning. I am Nic Rohloff. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel, by the way, because when Kevin Durant gets traded, we will have you covered. Whether it's to Miami or a different team, we will break everything down in depth and talk about what would be next for the Miami Heat. Turn on notifications as well, because if he comes to Miami, we'll be going live, so join the channel today. All right, there is a lot that came in on the weekend over KD. We'll start with this that happened on Saturday evening when Charania reported that the Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, and Houston Rockets are the three preferred destinations for Kevin Durant from his camp to be traded from the Phoenix Suns. Those are the three teams that he has made it abundantly clear that he would sign that 2-year Supermax extension. Remember, 2 years, $120 million. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But the three teams, Miami, San Antonio, and Houston, are the three teams he would extend with. And one of the most aggressive teams pursuing Kevin Durant has been the Minnesota Timberwolves. And people were surprised that the T-Wolves were not on that preferred list of destinations because we know how close Katie and Anthony Edwards are, so people assumed that he'd be interested in there. Well, Charania, on a hit on SportsCenter on Monday afternoon, reported that he has been told that Kevin Durant has no desire to play in Minnesota. It does seem kind of clear that there is no want for KD to play in a cold weather environment. He has old tweets that have surfaced about his disdain for cold states and playing there and living there. So it makes sense that some teams that he'd be interested in is Miami, very nice and warm year-round. Houston and San Antonio, the same thing. But after that report from Charania came out on Monday, the odds for the next team for KD shifted dramatically on sportsbooks. I've seen it on DraftKings, which is these odds. I've seen Bovada. Miami, remember, just about 4 or 5 days ago, were fifth on the list of KD odds at plus 1,000, trailing Minnesota, San Antonio, and Houston. Now they have catapulted above the Rockets, Spurs, and Timberwolves. I think we're truly in the end game here for Kevin Durant. It has been widely reported that KD was expected to be traded this week at some point before the NBA draft because the Suns want to have an idea of what they have at their disposal going into the 2025 NBA draft on June 25th. So I believe that a trade will likely happen this week. Miami seems to be in the final 3 or 4 teams bidding for KD. There are sneaky teams there out there as well, like the Toronto Raptors and Los Angeles Clippers. But if there is a sign of where this is going, I would bet it's either Miami or the 2 teams in Texas, Houston or San Antonio. Prediction time. Get those crystal balls out. Will the Heat trade for Kevin Durant? Not if you want it, just if they will. Predict it. Pin comment, type Y for yes or type N for no. Earlier, I guess I should say later last week, I said that I'm a delusional Heat fan, and I gave it a 77% chance Miami landed KD. I'm going to pull that back a little bit here. I'm at 50-50. I think Miami really does want to trade for KD, but as we consistently see with this front office trading for stars, especially older ones, they are going to do it at their price tag. And I think that is the major conversation that we have to look at now. What are the Heat willing to give up? What should they be willing to give up? Well, Brian Windhorst on Get Up Monday morning said that from what he understands, the 3 teams on KD's list, Miami, San Antonio, and Houston, haven't made offers that have gotten Phoenix excited to this point. To this point is very important. Minnesota, from what I understand, has been the most aggressive team in trade talks. It's very clear. The number one asset that Miami has that Phoenix wants is the second-year center to be Kel'el Ware. They desperately want a center in Phoenix that could be their long-term with Devin Booker and the rest of their team. They want Kel'el Ware. Miami is very reluctant to do that. We talked about that on a show. I talked about it over on social media. The Heat are very skeptical of including Ware for KD at this point. I think it's a different conversation on if they should do it or not. I have been very open to trading Kel'el Ware for KD as long as it means we are not giving up draft capital as well. I'm not trading Ware and draft capital. And I truly believe this as well. If the Heat have offered Kel'el Ware to this point, we would have already seen the news break. I do think that is what is holding this up. The Suns are waiting for Miami to maybe up their offer, include Kel'el Ware, And to this point, they have not. So they're just fielding calls and waiting to see what more could come in. But they do want to get something done over the next, I would say, 72 to 96 hours. Like, I don't think they want to go into this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just 3 days before the NBA draft on that following Wednesday, without a knowledge of what the Kevin Durant trade return would be. And it's a tough call to make for Miami. Should you include the 20-year-old center that fit really well with Bam in his rookie season and has a lot of upside long term in terms of his defense, fit with Bam, floor spacing ability? I understand why fans would be hesitant to trade Kel'el Ware. But the point is this, in my opinion, and this is why I'm willing to do it, is because I know this front office. This front office is not going to sell. And if they do not sell and they do not trade Ware for KD, they will then once again be stuck in the middle as an 8, 9, 10 seed. I don't want to be there. I'm done with that. So I'm either selling or I'm making a move to try to get back to the top of the East. KD gets you close to that top of the Eastern Conference. We'd still need to see some moves around the roster to complement Hero, Bam, and KD more. But they are not selling. And if they do not buy KD, then we're stuck in the middle again. Now let's go to a different conversation here, because I think it's a foregone conclusion that if the Heat trade for KD, they are extending him, which is another large part of this conversation. And it's why Minnesota could be disgruntled to ultimately make a trade for Durant, because he's got 1 year left at $54.7 million. Are the Timberwolves willing to part ways with a Rudy Gobert, a Dante DiVincenzo, and draft capital, or Rob Dillingham for a player that is only going to play one season for them? You have to imagine they would be very skeptical to do that, although it would be pretty beneficial for them in the following offseason to have $54.7 million coming off the book. So there is added incentives of trading for him. If he extends, awesome. If he doesn't, you have a massive expiring contract and you free up a lot of money to make a move in free agency. But is that going to push the Timberwolves away? This is what a contract extension would look like if Miami did extend him. $54.7 million this year, $57.3 in 26-27, and then $62.7 in 27-28, which would be 3 guaranteed years, no options from the team or player option. He would be in Miami for 3 seasons. I'll give you my thoughts on an extension here in a second. But we are under 10 days away from the NBA draft, and if the Heat keep that pick and make a selection, whatever player they take will be walking the stage with one of these hats, whether it's a black curve, a white flat, a bucket hat, which I think is really cool. 9 days away. So if you want to have your draft hat by the time the draft is actually going on, June 25th, you got to order today. Chatsports.com/Heat2025 draft hats. Link is in the description and comments of today's video. Get them now so you can wear them on actual draft night. You wait any longer, might be out of luck. All right, when it comes to a Kevin Durant trade and then an extension, I would be willing to extend KD if the Heat trade for him. I just think if you are trading for Durant, you are extending him. And a lot of the reasons why Miami was hesitant to take back a lot of salaries in the Jimmy Butler trade at the deadline in February is because they wanted that flexibility to sign a free agent in the 2026 offseason. And one of the free agents they could have and would have pursued was Kevin Durant. So if they would have kept flexibility and then signed KD in 26 offseason, then what's the difference from trading for him now and then extending him this offseason, right? Now, I will say, if you are extending Kevin Durant, which I would, you will have to wait on Tyler Hero, in my opinion. Because Hero's extension would not set in until KD's last year, 27-28, because Hero does have 2 more years at $31 and $33 million per season. But I would hold off on the extension because if you have Hero, KD, and Bam, and it doesn't work out, you still would have the flexibility of trading Hero before you extended him, right? If you wanted to move off Tyler and get a real point guard or something like that. I would hold off on extending Hero. I'm actually holding off on extending Hero regardless. But if you extend KD, I would even more emphasize, let's not extend Hero right now. Let's wait at least one more offseason. And when it comes to extending KD, the reason why I'm fine with it is because he's still playing at such a good level. And I know some fans are skeptical of his ability to be a number 1 at this stage in his career or his durability. I really don't have those concerns. I don't, because he has played over 130 games over the past couple of seasons. Like, I am not complaining about that. And then you just watch him when he's actually on the court. He still looks like he is a dominant and top 5 offensive player in the league. He is a top 10 offensive player in the league, where I could argue top 5. Nothing says he's slowing down. Yeah, he's not getting to the rim as much, but a lot of people around the league believe that could have just been a schematic point from Budenholzer and that Phoenix Suns coaching staff. KD is a jump shooter, yes. But another reason why I think that's happened, like the modern NBA, players are just playing much longer. Curry, LeBron. Like, I know he tore his Achilles 3 years ago. But that's not really much of a concern because I've seen him stay healthy relatively over the past couple of seasons and put up efficient buckets, 25 a night. Adding him to this group would not only take some pressure off Tyler Hero, elevating his efficiency and ability to score more, going against lesser defenders, but it would also move Bam Adebayo to that third option on the offensive side of the floor where he is more adept to have success. And even he could be elevated in terms of efficiency and being able to score the basketball. I think you got to look at this not as just a who you're adding, but what it does to the rest of your players and roster on the team. So make the call for me. Are you extending Kevin Durant if you trade for him? Type E for extend. Type D if you do not want to extend. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Close out the show with this thought and this quote from Michael Scotto over at Hoops Height, saying that the Suns have done background work on Heat forward Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins is owed $28.2 million this season and would likely be a part of any Heat trade package for KD. I think it's abundantly clear that Wiggins would be in every single trade. Now, there is a pathway to keeping Wiggins. There is. Like, if you trade Khalil Ware, Duncan Robinson, and Terry Rozier, that works financially, so you would not need to include Wiggins. But I just would expect Phoenix to want Wiggins to fill that 3-and-D mold next to Booker and whatever they do that to the roster. Because did Wiggins have the best tenure in Miami after the deadline? No, because he wasn't able to play. But he is still a productive, winning type of basketball player when he is your fourth option. I thought he could maybe elevate to a third option in Miami with Bam and Hero. That was evidently not the case. But as a fourth option, a defender and catch-and-shoot three-pointer and then turning that into drives off pump fakes, yeah, I think Wiggins does that exceptionally well. And I think he would have to be included in that deal. But I will say, if Miami would keep him and do a Ware 20th overall pick, Duncan and Rozier, which maybe you'd have to do the 20th pick with Ware if you want to keep Wiggins. A Wiggins, KD, Bam front court is very intriguing with the versatility they could have on the defensive end of the floor as well as on the offensive side. I do not think that would happen, but it would be an interesting kind of 3-4-5 dynamic with those three. You'd have a lot of functional size and defense to kind of complement Tyler Hero in the backcourt. All right, final word on today's show. Miami needs to get this wrapped up. I say by Thursday. Because the longer this goes, the less likely he ends up becoming a Miami Heat basketball player. You look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. He doesn't want to go there, but they also can't make a trade until July 1st because they can't aggregate contracts because it's in their second apron. So they can't do a deal right now unless they agree in principle, which I suppose could happen, but then nothing would be finalized. It'd be a little bit more complicated. San Antonio and Houston are still on the fence. If Miami were just up their package a little bit, apply as much pressure as possible without overpaying for KD to get this done a week out from the NBA draft on June 25th, I think that would be better for all sides. This goes into the weekend and closer to the draft. I think it becomes more and more unlikely the Heat ultimately get them. I think they got to try to wrap this up over the next 48 hours. And if that happens, we will go live on the channel. So hit that sub button for daily Heat content, news, rumors, trade stuff. And like I said, KD gets traded. We're going live to break everything down. If he gets traded elsewhere, we'll certainly have a video reacting to that and seeing what's next for Miami. So join the channel today.